Blood of My Blood, episode 8 was incredible. I think ever since the start of the season, it was the first episode where, when it ended, I was like, this was great. And I have to say, this was the best episode of the season. It had secrets, it had tension, it had a reunion that we were waiting for, it had everything. Let's discuss what happened in the episode and then look at the episode 9 trailer, which shows that some of our characters will find themselves amidst a rebellion, and characters like Julia and Henry might use that chaos to run away. Let's dive in. Ellen. I don't even know where to start with this storyline and that horribly long scene. I know watching shows like this always puts in perspective how horrible it was for women at the time and how they were treated like property, but it also showed us how alone Ellen is in her own home. She really has no one but Mrs. Fitz by her side. And I didn't think that they would make her take off her dress robe in front of everyone and continue with the procedure while all those men were watching. I really thought it would just be Mrs. Fitz, a physician, and then another witness with Ellen. But no, she had to be and go through that exam in front of all those men. That was such an ordeal, so horrible and humiliating. Well, thank God, Julia was there to help her. For those who are confused about how she was able to fake virginity, the ingredients Julia brought together are used in pickling meat, as she said. And when applied to the vaginal tissues and dried, those ingredients have a tightening effect. So when the doctor was looking at her vagina, it was really tight. So he assumed that she was still a virgin, and that's how she passed the test. Malcolm Grant. We need to talk about this guy. From the start of the season, I have been sort of very fond of him because he's not like his father. He's been quite nice with Ellen, and it is obvious that he's in love with her and respects her. And it really did seem like he was not happy to be there going through such a thing. So even though I know he's an obstacle in front of Ellen and Brian getting married, I still think that he's a nice man. But of course, there's this question. Would he behave the same way if the test had gone otherwise? If they learned about the fact that Ellen had sex with another man, would he behave the same? Now, we don't know. But so far, I really like the way they have been handling Malcolm Grant's character. As for his interaction with Henry, I think it was really obvious that a twist would happen and that he would want Henry to work with him for years to come because he was really impressed with Henry's work for him. So Henry will have to find other ways to escape. Davina Porter. I want to talk about her too before I move on to the lovely reunion at the end. You saw the shock in her face when she learned that Julia could read and that she had left the castle before and knew the secret passage in Castle Leoch. But she was open-minded anyway and promised to take care of William after seeing that Julia was willing to risk her life for Brian. So even though early on in the season, Davina Porter was a bit annoying because we didn't know her intentions or motivations, in the last 2 episodes, I have grown to like her. And I hope she grows to be a more important part of the story in the later episodes as well. Julia and Henry, finally. If you guys watched my video last week, I was so scared that Henry would think their whole interaction was a dream, that he would think he saw the ghost of Julia, and that did happen for a scene, but I'm so glad that they did not extend that into the final reunion. If you guys watched my official Blood of My Blood trailer breakdown, when I first saw this scene with Julia with a hand holding her face, I knew that this would be the reunion scene, and I'm so glad that I was right. I'm just unhappy about the fact that it happened at the end of episode 8. I feel like they made the characters go through unnecessary torture for so long. I understand they wanted to end the season on a high note, so they did not want the reunion to happen early in the season. But I would have wanted to see this reunion earlier. At least they didn't leave it to the final episode. I can be happy about that. I saw some comments about characters not acting quickly, like I saw some complaints about Brian not rescuing Ellen and running away with her, or some people questioning why Henry didn't run away with Julia, but we need to consider the fact that Archbug was right behind Henry, and he's just looking for a reason to kill the guy. So if you saw Henry try to run away, he would have shot him for sure. And Julia is right, she's now Simon Fraser's wife, so she cannot just run away without people looking for her. So they have to think this carefully and plan it in a way that no one will notice for some time. As for the criticism about Brian and Ellen, I feel like if it were Jamie and Brian's stead, he would have gotten Claire out of there in a second without listening to anyone. But I'm guessing Brian wants to be more careful. I don't know. Episode 9 trailer. Most of the trailer you will see that the scenes take place somewhere else, so everyone is gathered somewhere, and that is explained in the synopsis for episode 9, which is titled Braemar. All the Highland clans attend the Earl of Mar's annual hunting event at Braemar Castle, where the Earl makes an inflammatory proclamation. So all the clans go there, all the important characters will be near each other, and the inflammatory proclamation, as we know from history, is about the Earl of Mar's starting of the Jacobite Rising, where he raises the Jacobite standard to support the exiled Stuart king to regain the throne. As we'll see in the trailer, his decision will lead to chaos. The trailer starts with Malcolm Grant's uncle speaking to Ellen, threatening her, to be exact, not to break Malcolm's heart. So when Ellen eventually runs away with Brian, she will not only be threatened by her own family, but by the Grants as well. But it looks like this hunting gathering has created an opportunity for Brian and Ellen to see each other, even though it looks like Simon Fraser realizes that his son is really serious about this girl, which is not good news at all. Julia is also there in a pretty dress with William, and if I'm not mistaken, Henry sees that she's there as well, so he's speaking to Ned Gowan to get his help in either meeting her or escaping somehow. More bad news, Malcolm Grant wants to get married immediately, so probably right after the hunting gathering, he wants to be done with the nuptials and make things official. Which means that Ellen has to let Brian know about this so that he can plan their running away together. Colm and Dougal have a face-off. Colm is asking, "What are you hiding from me?" And it is obvious that Dougal is probably supporting the Earl of Mar as he starts the rising. There's also a scene of Brian talking to Henry, and I don't know what this is about. Henry probably wanted to see Julia, but they could not arrange it for some reason or another. Probably something related to Simon Fraser not wanting to leave her alone, but in this shot, Julia does seem to be either running away or scared about something. I'm not sure, but her facial expressions are concerning, and she doesn't have the baby with her, so I cannot figure out what's going on here. If you have any theories, please let me know in the comments. Mrs. Fitz says that one of you will be dead, so she's speaking to Ellen about letting go of this thing with Brian, and in the final scene of the trailer, we see Ellen crying. And I'm scared about this because at the end of the episode, when Brian was leaving with Julia, Mrs. Fitz gave him the piece of cloth that they used for their hand fasting, and she said that if you want her good, leave her alone. So I'm scared that Brian will decide to let Ellen go for her own good so that she does not have any problems regarding her honor, or Brian knows that because none of their families will approve of this marriage, he will not be able to provide Ellen with a respectable, good life, but Malcolm Grant can. So I'm afraid he will be telling Ellen that they should break up in 18th century terms, and that's probably the reason why Ellen is crying. I hope I'm wrong. I hope she's crying because her wedding to Malcolm is getting nearer and nearer, but this is my unfortunate theory. Let's discuss it in the comments. And if you want to watch an Outlander video after this, check out this one.